It's hard to stay broke. It's hard to stay depressed. It's hard to stay governed by anxiety. It's hard to be inconsistent. It's hard not to have daily disciplines. It's hard not to believe in yourself. It's hard to be broke. It's hard to be poor. It's hard. It's all hard. So choose your heart. You either go work for it, you're going to sit there and let life knock you down and dare you to get back up. It's hard to practice perseverance. It's hard to be an introvert. It's hard to be an extrovert. Singleness can be difficult. Marriage can be difficult. Raising your children on your own can be difficult. It's hard to wake up early. It's hard to wake up late. But there's a reward on the other side of waking up early. If you wake up late, you've lost too much daylight. What somebody else did before you woke up, now you only have a fraction of the day to get it done. There's a reward on the other side of one pain, and there is regret on the other side of the other pain. And if you're going to win the reward, you're going to have to persevere. You're going to need endurance. You're going to need to be consistent. And on the other end of the pendulum, there is the pain of regret, where you did nothing because you were afraid you would make a mistake. The pain of regret will hurt you. So choose your heart. Make a decision. I want the pain of finishing something. I want the pain of persevering. Give me the pain of forgiving my haters. Give me the pain of forgiving people that tried to kill me. Give me the pain of letting it go. Give me the pain of growth. Give me the pain of acquiring new skill sets and talents. Give me the pain of managing my time well. Give me the pain of waking up early. Give me the pain of praying when I didn't feel like it. Forgiving when I didn't feel like it. Letting go. Give me the pain. I'll take that pain, because on the other side of that pain, there is a reward. Every single day of my life, I'll take reward over regrets. Will you keep sleeping on your potential, or will you wake up and make it happen? Choose your pain today. The anguish, the irritation, the frustration that you feel today will be your strength to leap walls tomorrow, to leap hurdles tomorrow, to champion the day tomorrow. So you got to turn your pain into progress. You got to learn how to turn your pain into power.
I can because I'm capable. I will because I'm strong. I must because they're dependent on me. Don't you sit here and act like you've reached all your level of success. No, you have not. You have not begun to see the things that's about to happen to you.
Never ever, never ever, never ever give up on your dream. Listen to me. That mental picture, never let it die out. Never ever let it die out. I don't care how much time passed. I don't care what happens, circumstances, situations. I don't care what defeats, what upsets. I don't care what happens in your life. Listen to me, and listen to me very carefully. You better never, ever give up on your dream. Never let the mental picture, the picture that you painted, listen to me. Whatever you saw, whatever you said you were going to accomplish, whatever you said you were going to do, never ever, I know, repetition deepens the impression. Never ever let your dream die.
I can because I can. I will because I'm strong. I can get through any obstacle on my way to my journey. I must. They're counting on me.
Because they're counting on me. Let's go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I have all of the worst technological issues all the time, like getting everything started. But good morning. It's great to be here. It's good to be able to chat and teach today, because today is Tuesday, which is probably one of my favorite days of the podcast, because we get the chance to talk about financial products that's going to help you out with your financial blueprint to success. And I'm excited about it because today we're going to talk about income diversification. And it's a topic that I love been able to teach people and actually independently work on with individuals and show them a couple other ways to be able to actually just take what they're making and where to put it at. We're not talking about necessarily investment diversification today. We're not talking about like that, like how to properly diversify your investments, your portfolio, that piece. I'm actually specifically talking about just the income today. So I'm excited about that piece. And if you are excited about it as well, make sure you rate, you comment, you favorite, you like, you share, all that kind of good stuff, and subscribe. Come on over to YouTube and make sure you subscribe to YouTube channel as well for the podcast, because I got a lot in store and I'm always consistently looking to enhance and improve what we've got here just for you guys. So I am looking forward to it. But with that being said, I hope you guys are feeling really good. You know, the last few weeks, I've been in and out of like being sick and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And I think it's, like I said, I think last week I said it's just very important to consistently just do like a wellness checkup routinely on yourself. I think that's super important. That might be like the mental health podcaster coming out of me from a while ago, back when I used to do mental health podcasts, and which my mental health podcast was a banger. It was a banger. It was awesome. I got the chance to really share a lot about who I am, the challenges that I was kind of going through, and how I was overcoming a lot of them in a very real way. And you know, it was very nice. So I only did about 2 seasons of it before I ended up separating from the military and then having to like switch up my whole lifetime and all the rest of that kind of stuff, you know. And the podcast though was there. It's actually created for me and my really good friend Tati, where the two of us, we actually wanted to get the podcast started to be able to share like what mental health actually looked like, because a lot of people have these stigmas around mental health and what it's supposed to look like. And I don't think that actually serves us well. And so we wanted to start the podcast to be able to show what it actually looked like, to be able to be going through and struggling with some things. I had a lot of vulnerable moments on there. I wrote a lot of very personal blogs and things like that. And I did actually really enjoy it. After about 2 years of working on the podcast though, my mental health did actually increase. And so one thing I definitely never wanted to do is just like be talking about mental health, but I'm not struggling at the moment with it. I think that everybody is always on, you know, a spectrum of where they are. You're not sometimes doing the best, right? Sometimes you're like down in the dumps, but I don't want to say that I was necessarily specifically struggling with mental health. Like right now, I'm not struggling with mental health concerns, anything like that. I do have my days where I'm pretty down and depressed, but I think that's everybody. And so for me, I didn't want to have a podcast about the real life struggles with mental health surrounding your life if I wasn't actually struggling with mental health. I want to be honest, there's a lot of people that do that. And like, if you're not a psychiatrist and a psychologist, a therapist, a counselor, and you're doing those, don't, because you're adding to the bad name that's out there, because your ideas and the ways that you think when you're mentally healthy is different than someone when they're not. And so if you're speaking on it and trying to share your own ideas and thoughts, well, you're in a healthy mindset. So you can't really give information and perspective because you are mentally healthy. And so when you're not mentally healthy, then yeah. And so I felt like, you know, it wouldn't serve to get rid of a lot of the stigmas, for instance. And then we'll actually get to today's topic. A lot of the stigmas, for instance, surrounding mental health could be that like we're always sad or depressed, or, you know, like want to lock ourselves into a corner, things like that. Well, me and my best friend had an entire podcast while we were heavily medicated and in treatment, like going to group therapy every day for 8 hours a day. Like we could do that. So how do we do that if the stigma is around the fact that we don't do anything like that? We don't talk to people. We don't share any of that, right? Like how are we able to do that? Well, it's because mental health is not what everybody believes it is, or the way the signs, what you see and things like that, is not always the same. It's not. And so coming at it from an unhealthy mindset while I was in the fog of war of mental battles and things like that could provide a lot more credibility, I think. And I didn't want to lose that credibility just by continuing the podcast. So that was why I ultimately ended the podcast. So I ended it because I graduated. Basically, I graduated from mental health concerns. So that was awesome. But yeah, so I definitely did love doing the podcast. But here we are today. Now, instead of talking about mental success and the blueprint to that, we're talking about the blueprint to success really overall. And so that's why I like to do that check-in in the morning. So I feel very free to please share, just how you're doing. And if you're not doing well, I very much encourage you, go get some assistance, go get some help. And I'll put in the comments and the captions and description and stuff like that, any kind of like links to assistance that you could potentially get. It's crazy. On the mental health website back a couple of years ago, I prided my website and myself on having like the most resources of any mental health podcast available out there. I think we used to have over 110 different resources on the website, and we had like 30 different podcast sponsors. So that was awesome. All the support that the podcast got from just the entire community overall. So yeah. Anyway, blueprint to your mental success. Back to blueprint for your financial success. So as I was saying, today we get the chance to talk about income diversification. And I think that income diversification is just so important because a lot of people don't know what to do with their money to get things started, just to like start. And what I want to do is be able to actually explain a handful of types of ways to diversify your income to help you get to a really good start in what your goals are. Coffee is so good. Coffee is so good. Jesus. Whoever decided to take some beans and some leaves and all that stuff, make it, grind it, then put some water in it and heat it up. Whoever decides to do that, they are some geniuses. Like maybe, I don't know, one of these days we'll just take a break from all those Success Blueprint podcast scheduling, and we'll just watch how it's made for coffee. And we'll just get an entirely new, different appreciation for it. Income diversification. I think that this is so very important just because it allows people to totally have their money, their income coming in and putting it in the correct buckets just from start. And then diversifying within it, again, like I said, diversifying your income or your financial products, your portfolios, things like that. But there's already some things out there that people do to diversify their income that they already understand. A lot of you probably already utilize some of these strategies. It might not be intentional. You might have heard of some of these strategies before. But if you can give an intentional mindset to it, then that's where you actually have a lot of power. And once you have that power, you have a lot more ability to be able to actually go out there and build you some really good financial success. So I want to talk about why it's important to diversify your income. All right. And I think that if you can start to have multiple income streams as well, it makes it even better. But if you only have that one income stream, whether it is wage income or 1099 self-employment income, then either way, it's very important But there's some strategies out there that the wealthy individuals use that we would work on with them to help them get to, have really great tax benefits, or get them to where they have great emergency funds built up and debt management is taken good care of, their living expenses and, their desires, their wants, all that kind of stuff. Right. And so there's a few options that a lot of people know about, but they don't really do them as well. And so that's where I come in to say, hey, well, this is probably what you're trying to do. This is exactly how you do it. But there's other options for you based on wherever you currently are in your financial path, right? And so one of the first ones is probably the easiest one. It's not the most common. I was going to say it's probably the easiest one, and it's just a traditional diversification method where what you're able to do. Actually, let me do this. I want to switch my screen. Yep, so I can be able to draw on my screen. There we go. Now I hope I'm able to actually draw on my screen. It's gonna let me. I actually don't think it's gonna let me. Oh, well, I can't draw on the screen. I guess I have to draw later on. All right, so I will come back to it and I'll actually draw individually. Sorry. So the traditional diversification method is going to be super easy, really easy to calculate, because all it does is it takes whatever you have left over and whatever money you have left over after you pay for your expenses, you take half of that. The first half goes towards savings and debt, like your emergency fund, savings and debt. And then also the other half of it goes towards your long-term investing, retirement, wealth building, college fund planning, those kinds of things. Right. And so it's super easy to calculate because it's literally whatever you have left. That's it. So if you make $5,000 and your expenses is $3,000, that means you have left $2,000. So you take the first half of that. Some of it goes like half of that, or some of it goes towards emergency funds. That'd be built emergency funds. The other piece of that first half goes towards paying off your debt, extra debt payment, right? So that we have some more money to be able to pay down your debt. So it's great because it's great for lower income, but the downside is just that wealth is not a priority, saving is not a priority, and a lot of times you just never really get out of the hole because it's only about if you have this extra money left over, and a lot of times you don't, or you do, but you end up spending that money. And so you're not prioritizing paying yourself first. And so that's the difficult part. It's just very difficult for people to maintain. But that is one method that is great for lower income, because if somebody can get into the mindset of thinking about, well, I need to take some of what I have and put it else. I mean, if you got $5, right? $2.50 first half, put some of that towards savings and towards debt. And then the other $2.50 put towards long-term investing. I promise you, even as minuscule as it sounds, and like, what would be the point of that? Well, you're gonna get much further than you are if you didn't. It's gonna get much further than you are if you didn't. All right, so let's talk about the second method. And this is a method that many people hear and they learn about. And this is the 50-30-20 method, in which I believe that this is great because it's simple to set up. And as I state here, it gives you a medium return on life, not like the best. And what I mean by medium return on life, I mean that you're not actually fully prioritizing building up your savings. You're not necessarily, you're giving it some, but you're not immediately building up your savings, your emergency funds, your wealth building, all the rest of that kind of stuff. But you could. And so the 50-30-20 method pretty much tells you take 50% of your after-tax income, You put it towards, towards the things that you need, or like your must-haves, your expenses, and like those kinds of things. That's 50%. All right. But the other 50% gets split. It's kind of similar to the first, except the first 20% you actually put towards savings and debt repayment, which is very minimal. But it's a strategy that some people use, that a lot of people know about. I think even Dave Ramsey teaches the 50-30-20 method. And then the last 30% is just like all the stuff that you want. The stuff that you want. You just want. All right, which is great for someone who is new towards income diversification or new towards trying to work on savings and things like that, because it at least accounts for the things that you want and the random spending that you're going to end up doing, right? Good thing is it accounts for you putting money towards savings, but like it doesn't account for taxes because it's only your after-tax income. Well, trust me, if it doesn't account for taxes, or of course it wouldn't account for taxes because it's only your after-tax income. Yes, that's true. However, you can get certain great tax benefits and deductions and credits if you are properly diversifying your income into different places. All right. And so that's why if you take your before tax income and you start thinking about what kind of products, charities, donations, investments can I actually use to get me lower taxes? And then that's why this method doesn't account for taxes. And then also it's not really stable for changes in lifestyle, just because you're changing lifestyle. If you've already got about 30% of your money going to just wants and desires, when you have any changes in lifestyle, when you increase in pay, what typically will that first 30 or those first pay increases go to? Probably things that you want. And so it's throwing it off consistently. All right. Take the first half, put it towards your needs, your expenses. The second half, maybe a little bit of savings, a little bit of debt, and then a lot more of what you want. It's a little bit more challenging, but it has a little less return on life, but it is something that individuals can use, especially if they are new towards trying to do that. All right. I want to talk about the third method, and this is the wealth method. So this is where you're actually going to get the chance to have a great return on life because you're properly placing your money into the right types of accounts and things. God, I'm telling you, coffee is just amazing. All right. So the wealth method, it is actually pretty complex to set up. And this is why a lot of us, financial professionals who actually do education, not just set things up for you without telling you or teaching you about any of the products you have. A little bit of passive aggression there. None of that part. But this is why this method, in order to be able to set yourself up for wealth in the future, at least to be able to increase your pay, and also to be able to get to a good, what's up, Danny D? Coffee is so good. Good to see you, buddy. And so with this method, I really love it because one, it talks about you keeping much more of your money, because we do talk about how to get to a 0% tax bracket. I'm going to show you guys a breakdown here. It's an example on the next piece. And then also it accounts for living expenses, savings, investing, debt, literally all the little pieces that you could potentially want. All right. But it does require a ton of special attention. And so I want to show you kind of an example of a wealth building income diversification example. All right. So in this example, this individual makes about $75,000 a year. And if he or she, that family, takes that income and properly diversifies it, this is going to be the situation that he will be in. So first off, let me tell you, one, the best method to do this is going to be that we normally, when I'm working with someone, who is wealthy, one of those higher net worth individuals, what we at the firm will teach them is about 25% of your money should go towards savings and debt. Right. And you can balance it in there however you feel like, or whatever, right? It doesn't have to be specific, like 12.5 and 12.5 savings and debt, right? 25%. And that's just depending on where you are in your financial path, right? If you need to put more money towards, emergency funds, then put more of that 25% towards emergency funds and less towards debt, whatever the case is. All right. But that is the minimum, right? So you take all of your before tax money before you even spend anything. And that's what that is. And then also we do normally about 30% towards giving and investing. All right. And that's just because of certain different tax benefits that you can get with it as well. And it allows you to start to build yourself and build what you have. We'll talk more about that in a second. And then also the goal is to not pay more than 10% in taxes. That's literally it. Right. That's crazy because it's like, how are these wealthy people not paying more than 10% in taxes? Because I'll tell you guys right now, a lot of people are spending a lot of money in taxes, 12, 22, 24, 30% in taxes totally, with like state taxes and things like that, which is insane. But the wealthy people are utilizing strategies and proper income diversification to reduce their taxable income all the way down to below 10%. So how do we get you to below 10%? And really the goal is down to 0% income or 0% taxes. And then lastly, the wealthy only live on 35% of their expenses. And so that's where those living expenses come into play at. So with this individual, what we like to teach is show them what this could look like for them. And so here you see, okay, well, here's all 4 of the different categories. All right. And based on the percentages that I just explained to you, we'll take whatever they're expected to actually be able to be putting into these individual buckets here, what they're actually doing and what they have left over, what they should be doing. All right. Or what else they should be putting there. And then also you got the giving and investing, taxes and living expenses, things like that. Sometimes you might see negative in these areas. And when you see negative, that means that they're doing more than the wealthy people would. So what I'll show them, based on your current income portfolio, you're paying more than the wealthy would in taxes by about $125 a month. So if the wealthy would pay less in taxes and you're not wealthy, well, and you're trying to get to actually, wealth, why would you pay more than they would pay in taxes? You just throwing money away, right? All right. Additionally, you're not currently putting anything towards savings and debt, where the wealthy will put 15, 60, 63 to savings and debt. Now, let's say that for this individual, and in this case for this individual, I believe, like whenever I actually built this up with someone, they had a full emergency fund built up and their debt was paid off. And so that's where we have 1563 to be able to put towards somewhere else. Now, I do want to say, one, if your emergency fund is full and you're still putting money there, I think I've talked about it before, your money is not growing in the best way, right? So you want about that 3 to 6 months worth of emergency fund saved up that you're not touching for anything other than for emergencies. Other than that, your money shouldn't be in an emergency fund, you shouldn't continue throwing money into your emergency fund because it's not gaining and growing the way that it potentially could, right? If it's only growing at, and let's say you put in a high yield savings account, if it's only growing at 4 or 5%, well, and you're continuing putting money there, that extra money, let's say that your emergency fund need is $20,000, but now you've got $60,000 in that emergency fund or in that savings account. Well, that's about $40,000 that's not growing at the way it could, right? It's only growing at 4 or 5% when it could be growing in other strategies and other investing strategies and things like that for 6, 10, 12, 14%. All right. I'm not saying that all your money should be invested, right? Because you need liquidity. And I'm not saying that none of your money should be invested because you need growth, but there's a way to properly balance it. And this teaches that. And so if someone has a full emergency fund, great. But if somebody's debt is fully paid off, that's where it still benefits you to put some money towards debt because it can help you build credit and it can continue to allow you to enhance it. All right. And so that's why I say some money should go towards that. But if your debt is paid off, your credit is fine, you're comfortable with it, and your emergency fund is full, then you've got 1563 to put elsewhere in this strategy, which is great. All right. Now, you're also living well below your means on investing and giving. also on not too well on your living expenses, but well below it as well. But since you're not spending as much on giving and investing, you're not maximizing the tax deductions available to you. And so this is what keeps those wealthy individuals in that 0 to 10 tax bracket, because those certain donations and certain money towards strategies to build and grow your money are non-taxable transactions. And so you can actually get certain different write-offs for it and deductions to your income. And that's the cool piece. I mean, let's say that, and I'm not saying completely all this should go towards donation, but let's just say that all of it went towards donation, $22,500. That is a large tax deduction, very large, and you don't have to pay that. Pay taxes on that $22,500 if it all went to proper different charities, donations, charitable remainder trusts and funds, and your investment strategies and things like that. That's literally the difference between being in a 24% tax bracket, meaning a potential 12% tax bracket. So really awesome. Now with that, you also have an additional $348 a month that could be spent on living expenses over here. So living expenses, this is like your rent. Now, if you have a mortgage, your mortgage can be considered in the debt piece. But if you have rent, it's actually considered in living expenses. So go get a house. So you can be over here. All right. But you got your rent, your expenses, your insurances that you need to pay for. You've got those kind of little things and your desires. But you only got 35% worth of space. That's it. Right. And so if somebody's not spending as much on the living expenses, that's actually kind of good, because it's showing that they're able to manage it. But in this case, his discretionary income ends up being $3,160 a month, meaning that he has a whole lot of income that's not going somewhere, or at least that he has left over after he pays his bills. Right. And now, if this is accurate, where does that extra money go? Do you know where the extra money goes? Because if you don't know, now money is just going anywhere. Now, in this person's case, he would just put it aside into just a regular savings account, right? But the downside was that savings account was earning 0.01%. I'm not sure yet if we talked about different types of savings accounts that you should be utilizing, high yield savings accounts, things like that. But it was growing at 0.01%. So all of his money just going straight into a trash can. Now, with that, since he does have an unaccounted for $3,200 a month, he could be utilizing that for minimizing his taxes now and in the future, and even setting up for generational wealth with certain different giving and things like that. And so I wanted to be able to show you guys income diversification, because it is so very important. And I want to show a very specific example. Where is my whiteboard? And I love whiteboards. Create a new whiteboard. There we go. Alrighty. Give me a whiteboardy pants. Okay. So what I want to show you is a little bit more about that income diversification piece, but when it comes to tax brackets. So I want to give an example here. Can't marry you. I'm actually going to pull up the tax brackets. So for our good buddy, actually, before I move that, for our good buddy here, he was making $75,000 a year. All right. And he is married. So according to the tax brackets, these are the tax brackets for this year. Now, before anything, he's already in a 12% tax bracket because he's married and he files joint returns, and his income is in 75% $5,000. However, this is not how you figure out your tax bracket. You actually don't just take your overall income. First, you have your standard deduction. All right. Now, he's married, so he has a standard deduction of minus $29,200. So what we're going to do here is $29,200. And this is standard deduction, which leaves him at, and I don't prefer to do quick math at all. There's calculators for a reason. I got clients to work with and real life money stuff. I'd rather not do quick math. 45,800. All right, 45,800. So this is taxable income. Basically, generally. Now, all of these numbers you can apply to yourself, but just remember that there are some very specific things about you individually and what you do that might, change up some things. But you can be able to look and follow along. All right, so we're still in the 12% tax bracket piece. All right, by being at 45,800. But now we know that we're in 45,800. Taxable income at 12%, which means that his tax liability this year times 0.12 is 5,496. That's his tax liability. So that's how much he's supposed to pay in taxes this year, which is cool. That's fine. It's not bad. However, let's talk about if he did actually fully take that 22,9. All right, let me subtract this. That 22,9 towards giving and investing, and was able to then deduct it. So 22,900 was what it recommended. 22,900. Once again, no quick math. 45,800 minus 22,900. Yeah, I know. It's 22,900. Look at that. So this is charitable and invest, whatever. You guys get the point, right? You guys get the point. Those deductions. All right, leaves him at a taxable income of 22,900. Cool thing is he still in a 12% tax bracket? He's not. He's now in a 10% tax bracket. If he properly invested and properly diversified towards charity, tithing, donations, things like that, he'd now be in a 10% tax bracket, which might sound cool, right? Because at first he would be paying about 5,496 in taxes. But even so, but this is when he was at a 12% tax bracket. So not only did he just drop a tax bracket down to 10%, so he's saving there, but also now less of his money is getting taxed, right? A whole lot less of his money. Literally about half of it is getting taxed. So now with a 10% tax bracket, now I don't need to pull up a calculator for this. With a 10% tax bracket, that at 10% equals $2,290 is his tax liability for that year. And that's significantly lower than $5,496. Significantly lower. And he gets to keep what's that, about 3,200. Yeah, he gets to keep $3,200, which can be a huge difference with a family vacation this year or whatever, right? Like $3,200 a month. Math. 32. That's $266. That's groceries for a family. And now with that, one, he's able to buy groceries for his family based on the tax savings that he has because he's in a much better tax bracket. That's number one. But also number two, he was putting money into different types of strategies and investing for them in charities and things like that. So he's doing philanthropic work, right, which is a huge thing that the wealthy individuals do, and also investing. So while he's having more money now, he also is preparing and setting up himself and his kids' future and putting himself in hopefully a 0% tax bracket for retirement. Tax-free retirement. So make sure that you're actually taking good care of yourself and setting yourselves up. I think that it is probably one of the most important things that you can do is properly diversifying your income from the start, from as soon as you get that money into your account, what you're doing with it. All right. So I hope that teaches you guys a lot. Hopefully you are able to share that with other individuals who do need to listen and hear some of that information. I believe that all three are great strategies. All three, whether it's the very easy, simple diversification method of taking half, and putting it towards savings and debt, and the other half towards long-term retirement planning and things like that, or even if it's the 50-30-20 method, or if it's that wealthy method, right? Eventually, you should strive to get to the wealthy method if you cannot do that because your income is too low. But if your income is low, it's great to be able to start off somewhere, and doing any sort of strategic or intentional diversification is gonna do much better for you. So I hope that was big for you. If you did enjoy, feel very free to share, subscribe, rate, comment. And if you're listening on Spotify, hello, my good friend. Come on over, watch the video. Come on over, watch the YouTube live stream as well. But with that, guys, have a beautiful day. Go and do great things this week. And I shall see you guys. Hasta mañana. Hasta mañana. I think that's the word for, I think that's the proper word for like see you tomorrow. But I shall see you guys tomorrow. Take good care.
Don't give up. Don't
Adios.
give up on your dreams. Don't pick it back up. There's a dream you left 2-3 years ago. Somebody told you you couldn't do it, and you internalized that foolishness. Stop listening to the haters. Shut them down. Shut them up. You want to shut your haters up? How do you do it? You do it by being successful. You don't do it by falling into their traps, doing what they want you to do, putting your head down. You don't do it by not being successful. Let me tell you what I learned. Nothing succeeds like success. And so pick your dream back up. Pick your goals back up. Kill the noise. Shut them down. And surround yourself with people who will help you, who will speak life into you and not death. People who will speak life into you and help you to get from where you are to where you want to be. It's your boy, E.T. Remember, I don't care nothing about your past, because I got one too. Listen to me. You have the opportunity right now to make the rest of your life the best of your life. You have gone too far.